online reputation is a driving force in your success. Just a small note before we get started, we do have a number of attendees on today, so to make the webinar easier for everybody, Zoom mutes all attendees upon entry on the session so that there's no background noise. Now at the bottom of your Zoom screen, you'll see a chat menu, raise hand and Q&A. Please use the chat to message myself for any technical issues such as sound or video. I'll be manning the chat during the whole duration of the webinar. We won't be using the raise hand option today, so there's no worries there. And there'll also be the Q&A option. Now you can use that to send across any questions you have during the session, and we'll get to them at the end. We'll try to reply to as many as possible during the time that we have. So with that being said, let's get introduced. So my name's Chris. I work in Reputation.com UK's marketing department, and I'm the host for today's webinar. I'm joined by Anthony Gaskell and Dean Rapisa, who are our UK Director and Operations Director. Anthony and Dean both have a wealth of knowledge when it comes to online reputation within the automotive sector, having been with Reputation.com for a number of years, overseeing the onboarding and ongoing success of some of our biggest brand names in the automotive space, which Anthony will discuss in a couple of slides' time. So what we'll be covering today. So I'll soon pass over to Anthony, who'll provide a short introduction to online reputation management from an automotive perspective. So we do have some attendees today who may not be familiar with us and what we do as a company. And after this, Anthony will move on to the modern customer journey, discussing how your customers are finding you online, key changes that are happening in this space, and what's affecting you the most. Next up is online reputation management, Reputation.com's bread and butter subject. Anthony will explain how online reputation management and customer experience are intertwined and why they're so critical for multi-location businesses to succeed today, before he passes over to Dean to cover our best practices. Dean will be looking at the challenges businesses are facing when it comes to generating reviews and feedback online via review sites, social media, surveys and more, and how best this information can be put to use to benefit your brand. And after this, we'll have a brief conclusion of everything we've covered today before we do have some time set aside for a Q&A session. As I just mentioned, feel free to ask any questions at any point during the session via the Q&A option that's at the bottom of your screen on Zoom. At the end of the webinar, I'll ask as many of them as possible to Anthony and Dean. So I'll now pass over to Anthony, who'll introduce Reputation.com.
Thanks, Chris, and welcome once again to everybody. Thanks for joining us this afternoon to walk through the Reputation.com automotive webinar. As Chris mentioned, I'm first going to start with a very short and brief introduction to Reputation.com for those that are not too familiar. Our organisation began in 2006. As a business, we're actually credited to be in, I guess, the category leaders, if you like, and category creators from an online reputation management point of view. Our founder, who is somewhat a bit of a visionary today within the industry, a gentleman called Michael Furtick, way back in 2006, would have started with a notion that I guess we as individuals, and more to the point today, businesses should be in a position to play a part and take control as to the representation of them online as it appears. That notion back in 2006 has grown to be our business today, which sees us support close to 500,000 business locations across 70 to 80 different industries. So our growth has been fast, to say the least. If I focus more from an automotive point of view, as you can see on the screen, we work with some of the biggest brands around the globe and support 20,000 plus dealership locations. But from an automotive perspective, our experience spans right across automotive generally, whether it be from a manufacturer point of view, at a dealership level, car rental, as you can see, service, repairs, and so on and so forth. For many, many years now, we've been servicing this industry. Some of the customers that you see on screen today, I guess it's important to note that they've been customers for several years, which I guess in some senses is testament to the service and the support that we provide in managing this space. Okay, conscious of time, so let's kick forward. Next topic really is to try and set the scene a little bit, and just to start to, I guess, open up questions in your own minds as we start to move into what you might need to manage in this space. Now, when we start to think about the customer journey of today, there's two key topics for me really. First and foremost is how that customer decides to search for your business. Now, without a doubt, statistics show that mobile is first and foremost. But there are a number of other considerations if we think about voice technology now as well, and the way in which consumers may search from that perspective. Once that search mechanism has begun, it's what they do when they end in that environment that, of course, is going to impact consumer choice. So therefore, the point that we raise on this slide, absolutely the information that's presented to a customer in these environments, whether it be reviews that have been left online, social comments, the way in which they have an opportunity to engage with your business, the information for which you provide on your digital shop front is of paramount importance. If we start to consider that, I guess in real life terms, with the slide that's on show now, fundamentally reputation is everywhere that we look. We're looking at Google and also Facebook in the main here, but whether someone does a specific brand related search, so either for a certain automotive dealership or automotive manufacturing brand, the stars is something that is seen first and foremost. If they're doing a category search, as an example, a near me search, then once again, the factors that are taken into place in a business near the top of the search results, again, have a strong reputation focus. And what I mean by that is, the star average that you have as a business, the volume of reviews, the recency of those reviews are all a big factor in, first and foremost, the search algorithm. But of course, more importantly, I suppose, is the decision-making factor that the consumer is going to make before they click through to your business. Now, as we start to consider the future and technology, I've also incorporated, I guess, a voice technology device. I can't quite get used to that type of technology yet, but my children and wife love to speak at these things. But of course, we would do that in a different context. We would speak differently to the way in which we've searched. So again, it's important to start to think about how we get ready as that continues to increase in popularity with the consumer marketplace. As we start to focus on I guess, one of the most important engines for moving consumers towards your business, I just wanted to take a moment to reflect on Google My Business, or the digital shop front for most businesses, as I would call it, and some of the changes that they've made. Now, in regards to that page specific, we've seen changes over the last couple of years and more recently where that environment is becoming a lot richer in the content for which a consumer can have and obtain in that environment. It's become more action orientated from a consumer perspective, meaning that they can engage with businesses in a much better fashion to receive what it is that they want to receive from that organization from a service perspective. And of course, with those changes, this environment once again becomes, I guess, a little bit more challenging to manage from a data point of view. There's a couple of items in there with some recent changes in regards to reviews and how reviews are being managed. For a long time, Google have been concentrating on mining this area, if you like, and ring fencing and ensuring that reviews are managed in the correct way. But they continue to go down that road. No longer can reviews be requested in bulk. The idea now is that reviews are solicited by a business, I guess, at the point of sale or point of interaction with an organization. And a little while now as well, we've seen a lot of reviews removed from Google as they continue to gravitate towards wanting there to be a persona, an online persona connected to the feedback that's being left online. Just finally on this slide, I guess for me a really interesting statistic when we're talking about location-focused businesses and brands. And what I mean by that is a business for which is operating in an area of a country where a consumer is highly likely to search for car dealership near me. We've seen the rises in search results more than double since 2016. Which are a huge statistic in this sense. And probably more important, over 50% of these near-me searches lead to store visits within 24 hours. So I think it's a really important metric to track, and it's really important to be considering how the business is presented in this environment. As we continue further down the path with Google, it's interesting to see what they're now doing from an augmented reality point of view. This particular slide concentrates from a map perspective, and I guess this is catering for, I guess, the younger generation that's very much more pictorial in the way in which they like to react to businesses. It's also becoming a lot more personal in this environment, as you can see, with their For You deployment in round about May of this year, where Google, I guess, is trying to become a little bit more intuitive, like the social media platforms, where they want to, I guess, prompt the consumer if they're in a certain area. Oh, look, we've spotted this. We know you're interested in this. We know you like it. And of course, what you can see from the visual image is that once again, reputation is front and center. It's that zero moment of truth where a consumer is wanting to make a decision, and Google believes that one of the most important determining factors in that decision is what it can give it from a customer experience point of view, so the star average that exists online. Okay, so now moving on and considering how social media is playing its part and in this modern customer journey, and boy does it do that. I mean, if we think about Facebook for a moment, I think we're somewhere in the region of 2 billion users per month on that particular platform. And if we start to consider this in what's presented on screen on how that's impacting product discovery and purchases, you can see Facebook's leading the way from that perspective. In regards to 78% of discovery will start there, but probably more importantly is that of that 55% say that they bought the product online after social media. I guess if we think about it in a conversational aspect in this social environment, is that I guess we in everyday life, a conversation may start with friends and people that we're socializing with, which will then lead to do our research in this environment. So once again, a very important area to be considering in the management of ORM. Furthermore, considering how Facebook is reacting, I guess, in a similar way to Google from a local perspective, what you've got in Snapshot here is a bit of a difference, as you would say, between what they were presenting in 2015 and where they are now in 17. You can see the content's richer than what it was previously. It's more location focused, given the person who's searching this environment, again, like Google, the opportunity to be able to quickly make a decision on a business that is presented to them in a certain environment. Now, furthermore, a little bit like Google, it's become extremely important, therefore, to ensure that, yes, every business would probably have a Google My Business page for each and every dealership location or service station, whatever it may be. Our advice with that needs to represent the same within the Facebook environment. And it goes without saying that within the Facebook environment, the data that exists there needs to also be managed to make sure that the business presents itself in the way in which it wants to. Otherwise, this information could be crowdsourced, or it is left open, of course, to consumer interpretation and to add their flavour of what they feel the source of truth is. And therefore, we see a lot of discrepancies in opening hours and so on and so forth. And it's critically important to be managing this environment. Okay, so just one final consideration within this section of the presentation, and that's probably an important one. I mentioned it close to the start of my part of this presentation, and that's the rise of voice search. I just wanted to share some quick statistics in respect of voice search and where we're heading. I don't think it's new anymore, but it's perhaps a little bit more further on than what I'd anticipated. And the one that stands out for me in this environment is the fact that by 2020, voice search will account for 50% of all searches. I said it at the top, I think we need to get ready for this. Clearly, we are going to search in a different context of the way in which we would type via voice. And I think we need to have websites ready and in line with this. Obviously, it's clear also that if we have got voice search and a device that's going to speak back to us, it's not going to read back to us the first page of Google. It's going to give a featured snippet, if you like, in respect of the businesses that it provides if it's being searched for the best of. So again, another interesting one to start to consider as we start to feel about the consumer journey online. Okay. What I plan to do next is just start to paint the picture in respect of, I guess, the reputation.com vision in respect of online reputation management. Now, obviously everyone's on mute, so I can't hear the sigh, but yes, the iceberg analogy works for online reputation management as well, and this should make sense now. Of course, in the first instance, I guess what we would call online reputation is what the consumer can see. Okay, so in some senses, are you easy to find? These are the questions that you should start to ask yourself. And then once you're easy to find, do you look attractive from an online perspective? And that's what I would put under online reputation management. But actually, what the driving force of the way in which your business is reflected online is everything and all the hard work that sits underneath the waterline, or underneath the bonnet, if you like, from an automotive point of view. Excuse the pun. So if we start to think about this, yes, of course, it's the voice of customer. So I would suggest we ask ourselves today, are we soliciting feedback, and are we soliciting it in the right way? So we're maximising the volume that's coming in, and when it's coming in, are we listening to that feedback and doing something about it? What are we doing from a social perspective? Consumers nowadays will interact with a business in whichever way they please. Are you in a position and set up as an organization to resolve those issues quickly as an organization? Amplification, there's lots of businesses that I speak to on a daily basis that will have thousands upon thousands of pieces of feedback, but yet they never make the coal light a day. It's wrong in some senses. Those customers should be used, and this great content should be published. From a customer perspective, they almost become brand advocates for the business. So again, ask that question. And then finally, employee performance. Is customer experience built into the culture and the process of the business? Are you utilizing, or are you soliciting feedback from your employee base to make sure that they are able to go out and deliver the service that you want the business to deliver? Okay, as we move quickly on, because I really want to paint a picture in regards to our take on this furthermore. Now, from our vision perspective, there's of course a lot to consider, and we haven't got time to go into great detail today. So I wanted to encompass something, just 3 simple points in my mind that kind of bottle up our vision. The first one is the starting point is to own the experience from start to finish, and wherever that experience may take place. Okay, digital, face-to-face, after sales, whatever it may be. If we're owning the experience, then we should be in a position with the delivery of that to turn those customers into brand champions by soliciting their feedback and ensuring that that feedback is there for everyone to see. Now, if we're soliciting feedback and we're soliciting it in good numbers, and we're analysing that feedback, we're listening to what customers say, then it should allow you to run your business better. Okay. Now, let me kind of take this to the next level and start to talk about how that comes to life within the reputation.com environment. Okay. And the first thing to consider in this space is that what's imperative from our perspective is that you start to bridge the gap between what exists online and customer experience. They almost need to become one, because actually when they do, we start to realize that this is all intertwined. The way in which employees interact with potential buyers, whether it be to respond to their concerns, whether it be just interacting with them to convince them, to ultimately try to turn them into a customer as such. Now, as long as we're owning the experience, as I mentioned before, and we're utilizing those customers, then what we see time and time again with the use of our technology to bridge this gap is that it helps you to run the business together and of course better, and of course grow the customer base. Now, as we start to play that out, what does that mean in the real world if we start to think about the customer journey? Well, our technology and I guess our engineering team and our product development team, they continue to develop the platform, and we would say it's a customer-driven ORM platform. So everything that we are doing is with the conscious mindset of how consumers want to interact with the business. Now, from a consumer perspective, yes, of course, they will or may search for your business via Google. On happenstance, they may, on odd occasion, use Bing. They could be in a social environment. But when they gravitate towards your business, it's obviously important, as I said before, to present the business in the right light. Once they're in that environment, or once they've had an experience, they may choose to leave feedback via a review site, via social media. Of course, they may complete something as part of your CX survey program. or they might like feedback face-to-face in the dealership environment, or whatever it may be. Now, the point of reputation.com and us being focused on a customer-driven online reputation management platform is we look to bring all of this customer feedback or customer interactions within our platform. We want to make it instantly available so that you as a business or at a dealership level can action that content and have a two-way conversation. Why? Well, of course, it's to ensure that the customer experience is the best it can possibly be. Now, what's important to note is what we look to do with our technology is we map it to the organizational structure of the business that we're engaged with. Why? Because once again, you want to deliver the relevant feedback from the customer base to the relevant individual in the business so that, again, they can take action on it as soon as possible. Now, everything we do within our platform environment is underpinned by what I would call our pillars. So I'll potentially lump the first three together. The ability to, be able to engage, monitor, and respond to customers is, a critical part of managing customer experience as a whole. But for me to truly drive the reputation forward, then it's the next point, the learning aspect. A lot of this feedback that exists online is in, an unstructured format. So it's important to have a process in place through text analytics and so on and forth to be able to get into the detail. We're dealing with big data, so a business needs ways to be able to quickly make decisions, data-driven decisions, to put a fix to any problems. Okay, and that's another area that we concentrate on heavily. Final piece of the puzzle, and again, hopefully it goes without saying now, is to ensure the business is utilising those positive customers to promote the organisation, to ensure that what exists online is a true reflection, rather than those just feeling most enthusiastic, i.e. negative customers, are going online and leaving feedback. We want to get the positive in there as well. Okay, so hopefully we're clear so far, and we might get some questions at the end, we'll see. I now want to take a moment just to consider what we're seeing across the UK and European marketplace. And what I mean by that is what a basic strategy looks like today that I'm seeing across the board, and then perhaps what a more detailed strategy looks like. Now, from a basic online reputation management program, the starting point is ground up. So we talk about accurate listings. It's putting a program in place to ensure that your digital shop front is complete and accurate presence of your business as it should exist online. Now, I mentioned off the bat that if you've got this nailed, then you as an organization from a search perspective will naturally become more visible. Okay, that's a proven fact, and Google have come out and stated that. Now, if you're managing accuracy of data, reviews, and so on and so forth, it will all support you being more visible in search. Once more visible in search, as you would expect, it goes without saying that you will see more customers filter through to your business. The hope is that those customers get dealt with in the right way. And if so, that would be more happy customers. With more happy customers, hopefully, would be the solicitation of more and more positive reviews going online, and therefore giving the business a more attractive presence. And this cycle continues. Now, we've probably been at this phase within Europe and in the UK for a little while now. There are more businesses with a more detailed strategic focus around this, and that's what I'm going to concentrate on now. So as we move to the ones with are pushing the boundaries, if you like, we talk about best in class, and hopefully it's pretty obvious what's included. Some businesses lose sight of when they've got more customers, they fail to operationalize their business based on the insights that are being driven into them. Okay, so they may lose sight of not soliciting feedback and asking specific questions via survey model. Once they've got that feedback or it's fired into them and there's big data, again, and the organizations that are winning most in this environment have got an efficient program and response template in place to be able to react to this very quickly. And then the final piece of the puzzle, as I've just mentioned, is driving actionable insights to people around the organization that can make change. So it's taking this verbatim feedback and turning it into operational improvement. Now, hopefully what I've explained so far in regards to, our vision and in somewhat what we try to achieve with a customer-driven online reputation management platform, our aim and goal is to be a full turnkey solution for everything from a reputation management point of view. But of course, it doesn't have to start there, and Dean will probably cover this in a little bit more detail in the second half of the presentation. But you should note that our solution is very much modular in its approach, and what you can see on the screen now is those modules. I'm not going to go through them one by one because Dean's going to look at these in a little bit more detail. But what I am going to share with you is just the next and final slide for me is where this sits into bridging that gap. From an online reputation management perspective, you have got your digital shop front, okay, the way in which the business is presented, and it's important that that's being managed. Within that environment, social comments and reviews are very much present, but need your attention, of course. And then your CX program with the modules that we have available, whether it be our survey module, whether it be our ticket module to help you resolve these problems, or of course the insights that we drive into the business, it's imperative that you try and take control of customer experience to drive your reputation from an online perspective. And at this point, I'm going to hand over to Dean, who's now going to lead into best practices that we're seeing with customers in the online reputation management space.
Hello, everyone. So as Anthony mentioned, I'm just going to talk about online reputation management space. And the key really is to map all of what Anthony said into specifically our platform and how that can help you as an organization, especially in automotive. So we're going to look at best practices in online reputation management, first of all. Now, jumping off what Anthony said before, I'm mapping all of this into our product. So there are kind of 3 levels to what we talk around in terms of online reputation management, a 3-step program, if you like. The first one is to organize your data. And by doing that, you map into the 3 modules that we offer to all of our clients, which is the core business module, which will be listening to all of your information that exists online. The listings module Anthony mentioned, where the first step is to get all of your information right online, so you are appearing as well as you can in local SEO. And then the KPI report, and looking at the changes to your listings, look at the changes to your data, looking at trends, sentiment, etc. online as well. And once you've done that, once you've organized your data and know where it sits and can understand it, you can then move on to start engaging with your customers. Now, to do that, there are 3 main modules that we'll use. There's the review module, whereby you can listen to all of your reviews from around the internet, and you can respond to customers, you can address their concerns, etc., and learn from them at all levels of the organization. There's also surveys, or what we refer to as first-party reviews. So surveys can be, and we'll go into this a little bit more, but surveys will be where you solicit feedback from people who have engaged with your business and have taken out, for example, they bought a new car or they've had a service, and learn from those as well. And moving forward, amalgamate the 2, compare surveys to reviews, and look if there's anything stand out for either one of them that you can learn from. And then crucially, the last one there, the final part of this is social media. And social media will be what the customers engage on. They may complain on social media. They may follow you, look at what you're posting, share your posts, etc. online as well to all of their friends and followers. So again, social media is incredibly important for a number of respects. And it's all about engaging those customers quickly and efficiently. And the last one, and the key really to any kind of improvement program, is to use the customer experience and utilize the insights in the platform to again learn from all levels of the business what your key categories are, where maybe you're falling behind in terms of maybe individual locations or a brand, an OEM potentially that you'll have as part of a retail group. So you can use our insight module to do that and learn and explore all of that. Tickets allows you to produce case management in that respect. So case management solution there is where, for example, a negative review comes in or a negative survey, a ticket will be created, which will then go into a triage queue, and you can follow all of the case management for that ticket all the way through to resolution. And then following that, looking to obviously your dealer groups and your dealer principals are all very, very busy people. So the more that they can engage with their reputation on the go, on the fly, the better. So our mobile apps allow you to do that. And there's many, many functions and features as part of that as well. As Anthony mentioned, depending on your maturity in online reputation management or customer experience, you can pick and choose which modules might fit your business, and of course, take them on at any point in time from reputation.com. So what we're going to start to do now is look at all of our modules in that respect. And we're going to look at 3 key things. We're going to look at the challenge, so the challenge for each one of these modules that businesses face. We're then going to look at how our platform allows you to manage those challenges. And then we're going to take a look at what the best-in-class customers of ours do in the automotive space. So the first thing, if we look at business listings challenges, so essentially business listings then and getting them correct at all levels of the organization is an incredibly tough thing to do. Opening hours change, people move, phone numbers adjust, and it's very, very difficult to keep them completely up to date at all times across all review and listing sites. And the first point of call usually for something like this for a business will be your own website. You can see an example here where someone navigates to a website and you've got the key information in order to contact this business. You've got their address, you've got their contact info, phone numbers, email, and crucially, the opening times. Now, ideally, all of that information, of course, should be the same across all listing sites. So you've got sites like Google, Apple Maps, for example, in that respect. But as I mentioned before, actually maintaining that is a very difficult job to do. And you've got to have that level of communication with the locations themselves and then a way of keeping it updated. You can see in this example here on Apple, for example, the Saturday opening hours are different and the Sunday opening hours are different on Google. So in that respect, you want to be able to have something which alerts you to that, so you can audit it and see where the issues are, but also maintain that and correct it as needed as well. And our system essentially allows you to do this. So what we can do for anyone who's utilizing our listing services is, first of all, claim the listings that exist online in search and in maps. So if you have a lot of listings that don't belong to your organization, you don't own them as part of your Google My Business account or Facebook account, we can assist you with that. And what we can also do is assist you with building in our platform a single source of truth. So telling reputation.com what the true information should be, first of all, on all of these sites. So a number of fields on there that are crucial and important: name, address, phone number, but also 60 plus other fields as well, things like categories online, etc., things that are vitally important when you're looking online. And what our platform does is it essentially audits all of that data. It looks at Google, it looks at Facebook, Bing, a number of other sites as well, industry specific and generic. And it will say, well, look, on these sites, we can see that you've got a phone number which is slightly different, or an address which is slightly out of kilter. And so it will alert you to those things and show you those in the platform for you to go and change. But at the same time, and the next step to that will be, reputation.com actually has a bi-directional throughway into all of these sites. So what we can do is we can actually push all of the correct information through to Google, Facebook, Bing, and others, and actually ensure that that is correct at all times. So what that would mean would be, if anyone did go online and they were to suggest a change to your opening hours on Google, our system will recognize that first of all, and then it will correct it back to the truth. So what is it held within reputation.com? So essentially, you only ever have to worry, if you like, about updating reputation.com, and all of your listings are then taken care of. Now, in terms of what the best in class our customers are doing, is they're using these listings and they're looking at all of the analytics that sit behind them. Because what our platform can do is it can look at all of the online visibility metrics and look at the trends over time for each one in turn. Notice the changes, seasonality, ups and downs, sentiment analysis and such that sits behind them. Look at demographics of people who are viewing the listings and really understand who are the people that are looking at your information that exists and when, and operationalize that internally as well. Also, what they're doing is using our platform to ensure that the information is kept up to date well ahead of time. So oftentimes you'll get Christmas opening hours, for example, might be a bit different. Bank holiday opening hours might be slightly different to the norm. And so what you can do with reputation.com is you can enter special business hours. So these bank holiday days, for example, where you can input what the hours will be, set a time for when they go live, and our system will push them live on that date at that point in time. So you don't need to worry about doing it on the fly, if you like, or whether you have or haven't done it and people turning up to your dealership and the shutters are down, essentially. We then look at reviews and the challenge for reviews. You can see then that the challenge for reviews is that, as we know, pretty much everyone these days checks online ratings and reads reviews and decides where to go and where to spend their money, if you like. But actually managing those and actually learning from those is a huge challenge, especially when you've got multi-location businesses. So typically you'll see something like this online where you'll search for a business, and whether or not you're looking for it, you will be presented with reviews. Google is a trust engine. Google wants you to trust the decisions that you're making. And so one way that it does that is to showcase feedback that people have left on review sites when you're searching for the name of the business. It ranks review sites very highly. And when you go online, you can see sites like this, like Trustpilot, for example, or Indeed, where there's a decent number of reviews for the locations, but also these reviews are spread out amongst secondary sites at the same time. The point being, there's a lot of data there to A, keep track of when it updates and changes, and B, learn from and operationalize. When you then go and look at the information and drill down into this, you can then see for Google, for example, in this particular business, there are 200 reviews that exist online, just over 200, and a large number on Facebook. But actually, learning from these reviews and picking out the key themes that people are mentioning, the reasons as to why they are leaving you those reviews, and putting yourself in the best light when customers view you online or potential customers view you online can be quite challenging. And so that's what our system will allow you to do. When you look at the online reviews as well, don't forget there are some ones that we will say are more important than others in terms of the volume of reviews you may get on there or when they are presented online to a searcher. But every single review site is important because you have to ensure that wherever anyone is searching for your business online, you look good. So a lot of information. In terms of our platform and how it helps you then, essentially what you get is you get a funnel, and that funnel will bring in a centralized view of every single review that drops in from your clients online across the review sites where your feedback exists. Again, these could be industry specific or generic ones that exist everywhere or all over the internet. And you can learn from these, look at the sentiment analysis, look at the spread of reviews, etc., across all of these sites in one go. And actually be alerted to them in real time as well. So your dealer principals, for example, or your central support office, every time a new review drops in, could be alerted by email or by a smart notification on the mobile phones to say, look, you've had a new negative review come in. And crucially, we provide all the information that sits behind that negative review. The name of the person, the site it was on, the location that it was left for, and then the actual review content. Finally, on that, if they wish to respond to the review, they don't need to navigate to the platform to go and do it, or actually to take them out of the environment of their emails. They simply click respond to review, and they are provided with a deep link, which will take them directly to that review and open up our platform on the mobile or the laptop, and then they can respond to that review straight away. So take action immediately. And when they do that, when they take action, there are personalized response templates in there as well. Now, these can be set up for the organization as a whole. They could be location or user specific, but these are to ensure that the voice of your business is always kept in mind and utilized when responding to reviews. So you'll see there you can have sections of introductions and signatures and push those responses automatically through to any review that exists online, first party or third party. And then lastly, in order to improve your reviews and really kind of showcase how you exist to your customers, if you're providing great customer service and you have a 1 or 2 star, 3-star rating online, you want what is true offline to reflect online too. And so why not request reviews from your customers? We can brand the emails that produce this in terms of all of your branding, your logos, etc., working with you. And all we're doing there is saying, look, go online, leave us a review, tell the world how we're doing, essentially. Very simple, straightforward methodology behind all of that, but it's just motivating the silent majority, the people that maybe haven't gone online previously and aren't leaving those positive reviews for you. In terms of what the best-in-class customers are doing, they're actually motivated to push all of this to their own websites, if you like, and actually showcase all of the information at the central point alongside all their location information. So what you can do with our platform now is you can actually create these custom widgets, which you can break down into any of the filters that exist in our platform, including the bespoke custom filters. So for example, if you're a multi-OEM dealership group and you had a splash page for, let's say, Audi, for example, then you can pick out Audi as being one of the brands that you want to look at, and you can get a widget that is specific to Audi or a location or any other filter that is within the platform as well. Also, it's about empowering your employees at the front end, if you like, to request reviews. Now, to do that, the best way is to reward them for doing it. And so the Reputation Live app that we have gamifies review requesting. And so, for example, if someone was to sell a new car to a customer, they have their mobile number, they can ask them for their permission to send a review request. They can do that from Reputation Live. The customer sees that text message come through, they go and leave a review, and that then counts as a point, if you like, for the person who's requested the review. And you can then reward those people in terms of league table like you see there as well, and actually operationalize those review requesting internally. In terms of social, the next module we're looking at then. Generally, the issue that we have is a lot of businesses will look at social and get a little bit confused about how they actually utilize that for business. if you like. Whereas we want to move away from the personal point of view. We want to use it for a business page. And we tend to see the same issues coming over and over again, where we see things like, social posting being sporadic. So, lots of delays between when one social post was made and the next one. You see a low volume of recommendations in terms of reviews, people recommending you. Repetitive content, again, same content or similar content over again, and a number of other factors there as well. So it's all about how you can do that and then make it straightforward and simple. So what our system allows you to do, first of all, it provides a centralized view of every single social profile that exists out there, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc., and allows you to interact with those as well, and need be at all levels of the organization. What you can also do, as well as seeing all of that content, you can also publish that content to all locations, to all social profiles in one click. So an example here would be you can create a post that is just written once, and you select the review sites you would like, or social sites, I should say, that you'd like it to go to, select the locations or segment of your business that you'd like it to be posted to, and with one click, that gets sent out to all of them in one go, with location-specific tags in there as well, such as the location name, maybe a location phone number, or the manager's name, therefore making it bespoke to every single page that it gets published on. At the same time, you can also increase your local audience by boosting your posts and using us for ads as well in that respect. So sending that and spending some money on it as well locally to a targeted audience in respect of key demographics, age group, the radius in terms of how far away they would be from the location. In terms of what best in class we'll be doing for social, again, using the mobile device there. So you can actually utilize our mobile device to look at your social trends and information, look at the engagement rates for your pages as well as your posts, and then utilize the social module on the go, learning as well on the fly, if you like, and have that very accessible to you. But also what you can do is you can easily manage all of your key assets in the platform. So if you are a multi-location dealer group or OEM, for example, you can upload multiple images, you can upload files, you can upload links, etc., to verified data, information, media, etc., that you would offer for people to be using for their local Facebook pages or Twitter. And then you can track which locations are actually using it. So you can see which locations are more active in that respect, and more active in pushing the message. In terms of surveys, the issue with surveys, very similar to reviews in a sense. So there's a lot of information out there. It's very complex. It can be very expensive. And again, it's about getting that information and breaking it down to a location level so you can identify the issues that exist and improve upon them. So the solution that we have is that you can design within our platform true to brand surveys, where you can say to us, well, look, our scope for our design is a certain color scheme, a certain text scheme, etc., certain imagery, and we can design the surveys alongside yourself as well to fully customize in that regard. What you can also do is you can specify exactly how the survey will run, things like the question types. You have multiple different types of question you can use depending on the nature of the question being asked, radio buttons, drop downs, single answers, etc. And then the surveys that we have, as you can see from the example there, they are optimized to work on all kinds of device, so laptop, mobile, tablet, etc. And you can preview every single survey you produce before it goes live to make sure that it is producing and viewable on all of those devices. And then crucially, all of your metrics, all of your information that you garner from surveys is all available to you very, very quickly and straightforwardly in the platform to give you all of those insights where you can act on and actually improve whatever it might be that your surveys are telling you need to improve at any level of the business. In terms of the best-in-class aspects, so our customers who utilize surveys in the best-in-class are looking at and breaking down all of their information into key segments, demographics, etc. as well. So looking at, for example, sending out a new car purchase survey, you can break that down into age groups, you can break it down into gender, you can break it down into whatever you like just to get to the core of all of that information and learn the root cause behind any information that you're looking at. What you can also do as well, and this is really key for anyone who wants to take this a lot further than just utilizing surveys internally, is you can actually utilize all of your surveys online in search results. Okay, if you're local SEO. So reputation.com are a Google Seller Ratings partner, first of all. So you can utilize our surveys to gather data that can utilize in your ad spend and utilize against your ads. But also you can utilize our widgets to attach to your web pages at all levels of your business, local level pages, it could be a group level page, or it could be, as we saw before, an OEM level page that you've got. And those stars can be pulled through to Google searches as well. So you carry them wherever you go. If anyone is searching for your business in the local search for, where to find a car in Liverpool, for example, and your particular location pops up there as part of those search results, those stars can pull through there as well. And that has a huge effect in terms of local SEO and how highly you'll appear in all searches. In terms of tickets, and that's one of the modules that we have, by tickets we mean case management. So it's taking all the feedback that exists online, surveys, etc., and actually operationalizing that. So seeing it all the way through to resolution. And as we mentioned before, there's a lot of feedback that comes through from multiple sources, both online and offline at the same time. So it's a way of actually, and how can we actually ensure that all of our customer issues are dealt with and finalized to a satisfactory level. So our ticket solution then, essentially we'll create a ticket based upon your own rules. So we could have a rule which says every time a negative survey comes in, create a ticket. Every time a negative review comes in, create a ticket and put it into a certain queue, for example, like a triage queue. Someone can then be alerted to that coming through and then actually go and put that into a different queue depending on the nature of the negative review. So for example, if you're on there and you see someone who has got a trip and fall, had an accident, the person who comes into this can assign the ticket to a different queue associated with an accident, tripping or falling. And what will happen is the person who's responsible for health and safety, for example, at that location, will then receive a notification containing all of this information. And they will see all the notation, all the audit stages it's gone through previously, and then they can close the ticket when it's relevant to do so. So every single customer issue that's been raised for a ticket will be seen through, and you'll be able to track through that audit trail at all times as well. So in terms of what businesses who are best in class are doing, it's about understanding all of these ticket backlog. It's about utilizing tickets, but then looking at the backlog and the detail at a glance to see, look, how quickly are we closing our tickets? Who's doing that by source, by location, or by particular queue? Who are holding us back in terms of the response rates, etc. And also doing that at a user rate as well. So looking at each individual user and saying, well, look, which are the users who can close a ticket quickly? What's the first touch time in relation to each one of those tickets? How many days are they active on average? And then crucially, what's the percentage that are closed on time? On time being something that is defined by you. In terms of analytics, again, it's the idea about big data being out there. So there's a lot of information in relation to reviews, surveys, etc., that will come through to you. So it's about learning from the reviews that come through and actually utilizing them to improve as a business. So in terms of analytics, a number of things you can do in our platform. One of the key ones that we have is a reputation score module, where reputation score will take all of this information, it will compile it into the key pillars, if you like, of a reputation score and how you exist online, and score you against them with a fluid reputation score. So you can see at a glance which aspect of your reputation maybe you're falling behind in and which you need to improve. We also offer aspects like a customer sentiment map, where each review that we have is tagged with a category, etc. Depending on the nature of the review, the rating assigned to the review, the context of the review, it will see if that's positive or negative, and then we'll produce a sentiment map like this as well, whereby you can see at all levels of the business, well, hey, look, our issue, if you like, is our customer feedback in terms of the information that we're giving back to our customers. We're not doing that enough. We have too much in terms of negativity around sales tactics or pressure, for example. And then lastly, key might be the competitor insights. How are you doing brand-wise, or how are you doing location-wise against the competition in terms of a reputation score, in terms of a star rating, in terms of sentiment proportionality, etc. All the key aspects that make up a reputation score, and then see how you can actually get that crucial leg up against the competition. In terms of best in class, people are now using us to switch between what employees will feedback and also what customers will feedback to see what the issues are at each level. Because customers, in terms of what they deem to be important to them, and employees, what they deem to be important, and the feedback they give might be very different. And so you can quickly and easily switch between those two now. And you can also, in the analytics aspect, gain that awareness into the topics that are really impacting your ratings the most and see how much they're impacting your ratings. So how much is our service or our pricing impacting our ratings, for example, and how much has that affected our star rating over time? And how does it compare to the industry average? So really using that and then using that to judge where to move and how to improve moving forward. Okay, lastly for this section then, so now we've got reporting, so where all of this comes to, if you like. And reporting essentially is about getting all of this information, this key data, and just making sure that the right people see it at the right times. And how do you do that if there's so much data online? And clearly it has to be a solution which is very simple and straightforward to use and doesn't make people work too much. So the three tenets of this really are reports that allow you to learn. And our system allows you to get a key snapshot of all metrics and actually gain attention to where that you need to improve operationally, internally, and then dispense that to all levels of the organization. So you can schedule and share that feedback continuously to the right people at the right time. If there are meetings that happen on a certain day of the week, for example, we'd all like to get together, you can set up our reports to schedule and be shared to the right people at that point. And then utilizing a lot of the analytics tools and information that the system will give you to improve all key dimensions across the business to say, look, this is how we improve this month, for example, will be the key driver for you and your business's reputation online. And in terms of what best in class are now using, so it's about actually linking the reports that we send you and schedule for you to be sent to the platform itself, so you can go in and further delve into the data. So within the platform now, you can view a report that's sent to you, or you can log in interactively into our platform to actually interrogate the information even more. So you may get a report that you're used to receiving every week, but if you want to then alter that report, the dates that it's displaying, or the information that showcases in the report, you can do that by clicking a button online. Within the email, it will take you online to the platform itself, and then you can alter the data and learn from that. And also in terms of when you are pushing these reports to people, you can be very specific in terms of when they will arrive. So you can say, well, look, actually, we have a particular operations meeting on a Wednesday. And so what we can do is we can send this report out on a Wednesday to the right people at the right time in the right format to make sure it's at the most opportune time. Okay, so now we're going to talk about best practices in ORM. So I'm going to pass back to Anthony.
Thanks, Dean. I guess how time flies when we're having fun. We're coming right up to the end, and Dean suggested I'm going to talk all about his section again. Actually, I'm not. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to conclude and wrap things up, folks. Don't worry, we're nearly there. So I'm just going to conclude quickly on I guess a bit of an overview as to what this means, and then just finish up with some work that we've done specifically with the automotive industry that I hope you'll find, I guess, interesting as of today, and then may lead to a further conversation down the line. So if we consider a conclusion of what we spoke about, and I guess potentially the impact and why we're interested in this, well, if we consider from a business point of view, there's lots of money being spent from a marketing perspective, okay? And the reason for that is obvious. It's to drive consumers towards your business, okay? But we've now got this huge toll road that sits in the middle, okay? And this will impede that revenue if it's not managed in the right way. We can't lose sight, as I said at the start, about managing customer experience, because of course it's that is going to drive this, okay? Gone are the days where reviews are every now and again. It's an everyday occurrence now for consumers, and they're digesting them again and again and again. So I think just as a conclusion on everything we spoke about, of course it's to drive revenue into the business, and that leads me on to my next and final slide before we try to take some questions if we've got any now. From an automotive perspective, reputation.com, as you've seen at the start, it's probably the cornerstone of our business. We've been fortunate enough to work with some of the biggest brands in the marketplace over several years, and through working with those brands, we've forged some amazing relationships, and those relationships have meant that we've been fortunate enough to work on some very detailed case studies across thousands of business locations within the automotive industry. Now, in working with these locations, what you can see on screen is just a very, very simple before and after shot of the customer experience work that we did with an organization via our platform that transcended that business from that sort of amber and red negative on the before shot into the green positive on the right. Now, just as a final point, what does that mean from a return on investment point of view? Well, this took place over a 3-year period, okay? And we had access to the financial data or financial performance, sales performance of that business. And what we were able to track is those dealerships that were engaged within an ORM, online reputation management program, and those dealers that wasn't. And what was concluded from the study is that those dealerships that was actively engaged and was utilising our platform and the guidance that we give them as a business, by year 3, they were in a position where car sales had grew to an additional 2.4 per month per dealership, which translates to not far south of $100,000. As you can see on the screen. So this, as you would probably expect, is a very detailed case study. So not time to cover it all today, but what I will offer as a part and comment before we take any questions is that if anyone would like to engage with us in more detail, and we can walk you through all of the major key components that led to this result, then again, feel free to reach out to us. I'm sure Chris will give you an idea as to how you can make that happen. So thanks everyone once again, and I think I'm going to hand over to Chris now, so any questions can be fielded.
Okay, thanks everyone. Okay, so time for our Q&A session now. Now we're scheduled around 15 minutes for this section of the webinar, but as you all know, we're running slightly late. You can still ask any questions you do have using the Q&A option at the bottom of the screen on Zoom. These questions will come through to us. I'll read each one out that we can get to, and I'll pose them to the gang for everyone to answer. If you can't stay with us any longer, thank you very much for attending today's session. Just be aware that the recording will be sent out tomorrow, including this Q&A section for you to rewatch if you would like to recap. That email will also have a survey link to it. We really appreciate your feedback on this so we can help improve future webinars. I'm just going to give it a minute or two just for any questions to come in. During that time, I'll just put ourselves on mute just to give people time to pose any questions. So I'll give it 2 minutes and then we'll ask some questions. Okay, so we've got 3 or 4 minutes left, so we'll pose 2 questions to everyone. So I suppose this one is first, probably better suited to Anthony. So this question says, when asking for reviews, are there any GDPR issues that need to be considered?
Okay, no problem. I'd love to know who asked the dreaded GDPR question, but anyway, here goes. I think first and foremost, when it comes to GDPR, there's probably a list of considerations for a business to take on board, and there's probably not time to go through them I guess all today, we do have guidelines that we share with our customers to help them in regards to review solicitation. But probably the one that stands out for me in that, if consent's not there in the first place, then it's just some simple things. Is this a customer? Do you have a business relationship with them, and therefore, the opportunity is there to solicit feedback from them. I think some other important things, which is probably good for people to note on this, is that in utilizing our platform to solicit this feedback, is that the communication that goes to the customer, it's not from a third party, which has actually caused some review platforms, or not necessarily platforms, but review organizations, they'll remain nameless for now. It's caused them some problems in the way in which they solicit feedback. That's different for reputation.com because, of course, we're a platform that manages that. And the way in which a request is delivered to the customer is it's from you, meaning that the branding, the email address is all from your organization. So that again is obviously going to help with it. Probably the final point I'd say is from our templates point of view, is the opportunity for the customer to unsubscribe, and then without you needing to worry, our platform's going to manage that situation as well. So of course, not to go through every bullet point, but hopefully that gives Chris some guidance, at least as a starting point. And maybe if we can see who delivered that question, we can send them some information thereafter. Are there any more?
Yeah, so we've got one more question that we'll be able to get through today. So this question says, is Trustpilot the most valuable source of reviews, or is it Google?
Okay, that's another great question, to be honest. I guess questions like this are open for opinion, but I think if we consider the journey that we've just walked on based on our opinion, then I would have to say Google. It generally tends to be at the starting point of every customer journey. We turn to Google to make that initial search. Yes, Trustpilot may be the chosen review site that the business chooses to solicit feedback on, and of course that's important. But for me, as Google's the first place that someone would search, and just the sheer volume that's going through there, then I would say that's the most important. It's probably also important to note that from a Trustpilot point of view, generally in the main, it's a brand related review as opposed to a location specific. So I spoke for a little while before about how important it is to be location focused now with the way in which consumers do that near me search. Well, that's probably never more true for now, because Google is obviously going to appear in that native environment, and the Trustpilot search is likely to be a brand related search. And what I mean by that, it would be, the dealership brand broadly, as opposed to that particular dealership location or the manufacturer brand. So another good question. Thanks very much, and hopefully that helps.
Okay, thanks, Anthony. So I think that's pretty much it for questions at this point. We don't want to go over the planned 60 minutes and take too much of everyone's time. We're only 1 minute over, so that's not too bad. If you didn't get your chance to ask a question, we do apologise, but at the bottom of the screen there, you'll see the office contact email and telephone number to get in touch with us. I'd just like to say thank you very much for everybody registering today and also attending. We hope you found it useful. We really appreciate you taking the time to join us today. So thanks one more time from myself, Anthony and Dean, and have a good rest of your day. Thank you.